So I'll start with reciting a few of the verses so you can, as I've done in previous conversations, just so you get a feel of how the Sanskrit sounds in my anglicized accent Sanskrit chanting, which is not great, but I try. Sanjaya Uvacha Tantatha Kripaya Vishtam Ashrapurna Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishami Samupastitam Anaryajustamaswaryam Akirtikaram Arjuna Klaibyam Masmagamaf Partha Naitatve Upapadyate Shudram Hridaya Dorbalyam Tyaktotishta Parantapa. So at the end of the last chapter, we saw Arjuna despondent. His hands are sweating. He's slumped down in his chair. He's giving up on life. He just doesn't want to engage in that battle. He doesn't want to have to suffer in this way by having to fight his loved ones and relatives. But here Krishna protests, and it's interesting. These verses, in this first 3 verses, is the first teaching of Krishna in the Gita. It's the first profound message of the Gita here. So I think it's very sacred, very spiritual. And some of these verses are often things that I recite to people when they are despondent, or when they are feeling sad or down, or don't feel like they could, they don't have self-belief, or they don't have that energy of ability, or feeling that that they can do something. Then this would be a verse, that this third verse, Klaibyam mas magamaf partha naitatve upapadyate shudram hridaya dorbalim tvaktotishta parantapa. You can do it. Why has this despondency come upon you? So really, we're coming from fear to fearlessness in these verses. We're exploring a state of despondency, sadness, fright, fear, to one of fearlessness. So the verses say, seeing Arjuna tearful, overwhelmed, and in despair is the right word, Madhusudana spoke the following words. Again, we hear Krishna called Madhusudana, which we heard in the first chapter as well. Krishna said, O Arjuna, how has this faint-heartedness come upon you at this time of crisis? How has a faint-heartedness come upon you? It does not befit a person of character, nor does it lead to heavenly abodes. It is the cause of infamy alone. O Partha. Again, we spoke about Krishna. When he says the word O Partha, is O beloved brother. He's saying something important. It's a great clue. Whenever he says O Partha, you know that there's a message. Scorcher of enemies, do not give in to such unmanliness. It does not become of you. Give up this petty weakness of heart and arise. And arise. So there's a famous words of Swami Vivekananda where he says, arise, awake, and do not stop until the goal is reached. I kind of think of that here, where Krishna is asking Arjuna to stand up and be fearless, and to come up, to kind of get away from that despondent feeling. And for many, Arjuna's argument might seem quite logical. Even as an organization like Go Dharmic, we want to promote non-violence. We want to, talk about the futility of war. We want to avoid unnecessary conflict wherever possible. Arjuna's argument may seem logical at that standpoint, but we have to remember that Arjuna is a warrior, and Arjuna has fought against many great wars in the past and won, and prides his ability to win at war. So he's kind of saying something that just to suit his current situation. Like he didn't believe that, this is how he should act. He knows he's a warrior. He spent his whole life becoming a great warrior. But in this moment, he's turning away for different reasons. And Krishna is saying to him, you should fight. Stand up. Your argument doesn't stand. So I wrote this in the Fearlessness text. Fear is the illusion of separation. Separation from love. Separation from truth. Separation from God. But when the heart bows down in surrender to love, fear dissolves like mist before the sun. And I think Arjuna here is full of fear. He's despondent. He's feeling anxiety. He's feeling suffering. And that's the thing I feel that often grips us, often grips people around us. It's, I can't do this. Or I'm feeling, anxious about this piece of work. And fear can be a good thing, right? Like, if there's a tiger coming into our house, we have to protect ourselves, or we have to run, and we have to do something to save us. But it can be an all-consuming thing as well if it just takes over our minds and our hearts, and then we can't actually, achieve the things we want to achieve, or say the things that we want to say. Because we're worried about what other people might think, or we're worried about how we'll be perceived in public. We should just do the thing we want to do. And that's what Krishna is saying. Look, this is the right thing for you to do in this right circumstance. Don't make excuses for why you shouldn't do this, and go and fight. And he will go on. Now we'll explore to give his reasoning as to why. So that's the first 3 verses. Just one thing more to mention is that it does not befit a person of your character. Like he holds Arjuna in high esteem. He understands who Arjuna is. So Krishna says, this does not befit your character. He understands Arjuna's ability, just like we understand deep down our ability. We understand what we are capable of, but yet sometimes that small voice within might convince us that, we can't do something, or, this is not the way for me, and, I won't do that because of this reason or that reason. Whereas Krishna's words, arise. Do not follow that weakness, faint-heartedness, and do the thing. Do the thing for the world. Do the thing for the benefit of the world. So now we are going to Arjuna, who responds to Krishna's words in verse 4. O Madhusudana, O slayer of the foe, how shall I fight Bhishma and Drona with arrows in battle? They are worthy of my worship. Better to live in the world eating the food that has been thrown on the floor than be killing my esteemed teachers. Though they desire worldly gain, I would only enjoy the spoils of war tainted with their blood if they met death at my hands. So he's really saying, please instruct me, like, how, Krishna, do I do this? And neither do we know which is better, whether we should kill the sons of Dhritarashtra or whether they should kill us. For if we kill those who now stand before us, our lives will be worth nothing. My very being is overpowered by weakness. I am bewildered by my duty. What is best for me? I am your student, surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So the first thing that we must share is that Arjuna describes the opposition of the war, the Kauravas, as only seeking worldly gain. They are in it for material success. You could maybe, without getting too much into politics, look at the predicament across the world, look at the situation that we have in politics. Are they in it for the benefit of the world, or are they in it for their own material gain or their own success? I don't know. That's for each one of us to decide wherever we live or whichever country we're in. But often we can see political leaders. Are they acting for the benefit of the world, for the environment, for all living beings, for the animals? Or are they seeking their own prosperity, their own material gain and material success? So Arjuna recognizes that in the opposition. I would enjoy the spoils of war, tainted with their blood, if they met death at my hands. He doesn't know which is better. Do I kill these people who I'm related to, or do I allow them just to kill me and let it be over? The second significant point we have in verse number 7, my very being is overpowered by weakness. I am bewildered about my duty. What is best for me? I am your student, surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So Arjuna accepts a position of an empty cup. He doesn't know. He's ripe and open for teaching. He's in a place of acceptance. And the word surrender, I surrender to divinity, I offer it, can be considered a word, in the West, that we think of surrender as, oh my God, this is, I'm giving up all my rights, or I'm giving up my ability to think about anything. But when I was with Ram Dass, and we worked on this book, Be Yourself, which, has been the greatest project of my life to try and complete, he said, surrender, 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 like 4 times in a row. Surrender, 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 surrender. He said, Maharaji is my doorway to Brahman. I just surrender it all to divinity. And I think this verse 7 of chapter 2 is quite significant. And Arjuna empties his cup. He says, I'm ready to allow spirituality to be taught to me, and to accept that position. I really feel it's a beautiful moment there where he is touching the feet of Krishna, and he says, I surrender to you. Teach me what I can do. I think, he's not here anymore. He's saying, look, I don't know what to do. This is a difficult circumstance. My mind doesn't want to fight. I don't want to do this. But he's allowing divinity to impact his life in the most profound way. And I think when we are at that despondent moment, when we are fearful, when we are faint-hearted or difficult, it actually allows an opportunity for divinity to express itself, because we're not so driven by ego or desire or anger or greed, which are so controlling of us, that we can't even make a decision or a change. It's kind of like an alcoholic who only wants to drink. You can't tell them anything until they accept that they're an alcoholic, and then they need to commit to a process of change, that okay, I accept that I'm in this situation, I need to make these changes happen to move forward in that way. So here is Arjuna understanding that his way of the warrior, his way of the army man, the killer, the great warrior who he's been all this time, now he needs to understand things from a different view, because maybe he had that view earlier of being the greatest warrior in the world. So he goes on to say, though I may obtain an unrivaled kingdom on earth with dominion over the gods, I am unable to remove this grief which is afflicting my senses. And Sanjaya then says, speaking to Krishna in this way, Arjuna, scorcher of the enemy, declared, I shall not fight, and fell silent. O Dhritarashtra, smiling faintly amidst the 2 armies, Krishna spoke the following words to the despondent Arjuna. So again, Arjuna is saying, I'm not going to fight. I can't do this. This is so difficult. Even though I may have the entire kingdom, I might have everything, I might rule, but what does it mean? It's useless to me. I feel grief in my heart to have to kill Dronacharya and Bhishma and, all of these great warriors that I respect, my teachers, my gurus, that I have to fight. So he's saying that to them. Krishna's teaching. This is verse number 11. My dear Arjuna, you speak words of learning, and yet you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. The truly learned lament neither for the living nor for the dead. I'll repeat this. My dear Arjuna, you speak words of learning, and yet you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. The truly learned lament not for the living nor for the dead. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor these kings, nor in the future will you or any of these kings cease to exist. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor these kings, nor in the future will you or any of these kings cease to exist. As the embodied soul experiences childhood, youth, and old age, similarly, the Atma, the soul, obtains another body at the time of death. The learned, the wise ones are not bewildered by such a change. O son of Kunti, contact with matter produces the sensations of heat and cold, happiness and distress. They come and go. O descendant of Bharata, you must tolerate them. O bull amongst men, such contact does not lead to suffering for the learned person who is equal in happiness and distress indeed. Such a person is fit for liberation. Now there's so much in these verses of Vedic philosophy, Upanishadic philosophy, Hindu philosophy, that we could really explore them in great detail. But just to summarize them briefly, the first verse of chapter 12, never was there a time where I did not exist, or you, or anyone else. So we are all existing. It's not like we have this feeling that, this body is all there is. It's not a material view. So the first view is a spiritual view, that we are all existing as divine. We are all spirit, and that is never going to die. So he tries to take away that anxiety straight away from Arjuna, that your view is false. You're looking at this wrongly first. From a spiritual perspective, we're all here forever, boundless and eternal. The second verse, verse number 13. As embodied souls experience childhood, youth, and age, similarly, the soul obtains another body at the time of death. The learned are not bewildered by such change. So once, with Neem Karoli Baba, I once read in one of the books on him that a devotee was very fearful. He was dying and, was scared. And Maharaji said, don't worry, you're just changing clothes. It's just like you're changing clothes. It's going to be fine. You're okay. And he gave that example that this is ongoing. So even our fears of suffering, our material suffering, our body suffering, mind suffering, all impermanent. Whereas Atman is permanent. The soul is connected to divinity and exists eternally. O son of Kunti, contact with matter produces sensations of heat and cold, happiness and distress. They come and go. O descendant of Bharata, you must tolerate them. So the words that Krishna is using there, contact, I think there is a philosophical teaching here that's quite clear about Sankhya philosophy, where you have contact with the world. So what is it that's having contact with the world? It's our Atman. The Atman is untouched, but it is having, our body is having contact with the world. And so we have this yin-yang, sukh and dukh, hot and cold, happiness and sadness, good and bad, the kind of, all of the opposites in the world that exist. And so Krishna is saying that those are going to happen. You're going to have hot and you're going to have cold. You're going to have happiness. You're going to have distress. They will all come and they will all go. Be the witness. He's going to ask Arjuna, be the witness. Be present and see it come. Ram, 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 Ram. Constantly present in the heart space, in loving awareness, not afflicted by the ups and downs of the world that come. So somebody might cut you up while you're driving and you immediately get angry. Come back to the mantra. You can see that that's okay. Or you might be really enjoying something and really blissfully kind of enjoying that thing, but also come back again and be there. Enjoy that thing, but it's okay. Everything is perfect. O bull amongst men, such contact does not lead to suffering for learned persons who are equal in happiness and distress. Therefore, indeed, such a person is fit for liberation. Who is fit for liberation? A person who is equanimous in both good and bad. Not overexcited by when things are going well and not falling apart when things are going bad. So I love the idea of Krishna always with a slight smile. He's just always slight smile. Everything is good, and carrying that mood of understanding. It's a very beautiful verse next. Verse 17 of chapter 2. That which pervades this entire world is indestructible. No one is able to destroy what is imperishable. That which pervades this entire world is indestructible. No one is able to destroy that which is imperishable. These bodies of the eternal, indestructible, and indefinable soul are said to possess an end. Therefore, O descendant of Bharata, fight. So he's saying we can't be killed. The soul can't be killed. It's here. It's eternal. It's divine. It's the root of everything. So you should fight. You should do what is right. You should act for the benefit of all beings. One who thinks the soul can kill or can be killed does not understand, for the soul never kills nor is killed. The soul is never born, nor does it ever die, nor having once been does it ever cease to be. Unborn, eternal, everlasting, the Ancient One is not killed when the body is killed. O Partha, how can a person who knows the soul to be indestructible, eternal, unborn, imperishable, kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? The fact that we're all eternal should remove all fear. It should allow us to live from a place within our own hearts where everything is okay. The Sanskrit word uses abhayam, fearlessness. And the interesting thing that we should explore is that this is the first teaching of the Gita. Fearlessness based on the spiritual view. One who thinks he is killing or one who thinks he is killed, both of them are incorrect. He's giving an Upanishadic view that this is all Brahman. It's all spirit. Abhayam is the first principle taught by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. And also, as we'll come to chapter 16 in the Gita, later on, towards the end of the Gita, there's 18 chapters. But in the 18th chapter, Krishna describes, I've got the list here, Krishna will describe the list of virtues that a spiritual being should have, that a person of godly disposition should have. And in that verse, I've got it here, I'll read it to you. These are the teachings. So we're going ahead a little bit to chapter 16, but just so that you get an idea of what Krishna says. Chapter 16, verses 1 to 3. Here is a list of virtues that Krishna teaches to Arjuna. And the first one is fearlessness. So again, you can see a pattern here recurring, that fearlessness is the foundation of spirituality. In the second verse of, in the third verse of the Gita, chapter 2, And then here in 16th chapter, fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in knowledge and yoga, charity, dhanam, self-restraint, sacrifice, study of sacred texts, study of scriptures, austerity, uprightness. These are divine qualities. So these, chapter 16, if you have a Gita, you can check that beautiful list of virtues, of spiritual qualities that we'll explore later as we go forward. But there's a great list in chapter 16 that you can explore there. But I just found it really beautiful and interesting that here in chapter 1 we have fearlessness, and then the very first quality Krishna mentions is fearlessness. That should give us a lot of hope that we can develop great strength. So we have really run forward in the Gita of those verses there, and we're talking about fearlessness. We're talking about a spiritual view of understanding that everything is God, everything exists within God, and who is the exemplar of that kind of fearlessness? It's Hanuman. Hanumanji, as I often explain, is the exemplar of the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. He is, he's not even there, because his work is so much for Ram that you can't. If you were to cut him up, all you would see is Sita and Ram inside. So that's all that's existing within Hanuman, and he's the exemplar of fearlessness. He's the exemplar of the Gita's wisdom. And as we always say, for the benefit of the world, you should act. He acts for that. So I'm just going to share something which is from the Sundarkand that we spoke about earlier. This text here, and it's just before Hanuman is about to take off. So he's just about to go. He's just about to leave to rescue Sita, to go on his sacred mission. And there's a beautiful verse which I often recite. And it's recited by many people when going to a new place. So you could be going to a new city, or going for some work, or when I'm traveling for Go Dharmic and I know I've got an important job to do here, or to give a talk and relay a really important message, I will recite this verse first. And even some of my friends who are in sports, or kind of achieving great things, I will send them this verse and say, hey, recite this before you go and do your great thing there. Prabhasi nagar ki ji sab kaja, hridaya rakhi kaushalapura raja, garala sudari pukara himitai, gopada sindhu anala sitalai. So just reading that out in English. Enter the city and accomplish all tasks, holding Ram in your heart. Poison will turn into nectar. Enemies will become your friends. These vast oceans shrink to the size of a cow's footprint. Fire will even become cool. The mighty Mount Sumeru will become like a speck of dust when looked upon through the grace of Ram. How can I rest before fulfilling Ram's mission? Then the son of the wind surveys the city. So there's a beautiful verses in the Sundarkand where Hanuman is expressing that even poison will become nectar. These enemies who hate me will become my friends. Fire will become cool. Everything will become easy. Even this great mountain will become like a small speck of dust. So when someone says, oh, this is so difficult, I can't do this, there's so much for me to do, if that's not then the spiritual view, that's not Hanumanji's view, it will get done. If Ram wants it done, it will get done. If he doesn't want it done, it's not going to happen anyway. So we shouldn't worry either way. We'll try our best and have that view. And then speaking of Maharaji, in the ebook that we've produced, we put this word: fearlessness is love. So ultimately God is love, and Maharaji expresses that. In the Ramcharitmanas, there's a verse which says, Ram knows only love. Ram knows only love. Ramahi kevala premo piyari, jani lehu jo janani hari. Ram only knows love. And for me, that's Maharaji through and through. He said to a devotee, if the river's going to go, what are we going to do? It's going to go. So do what you can, understanding that this is all perfect, but there's nothing you can do to stop it if it's going to go. You can only do your best. So working without that anxiety, working without that suffering, and that element of understanding that, you know, this fearlessness comes only from a spiritual view. It can't be fake. We can't just will ourselves into fearlessness. It has to come from a grounding of Satchitananda, truth, knowledge, and bliss. So fearlessness comes, and then, you know, just in the ebook again, we've shared some verses which you know, talk about fearlessness, and again, we'll come to Gita in the next session. We're up to the 20th verse of chapter 2, but later Krishna will say, no effort is wasted on this path. So every act of spiritual, so this right here, this satsang is spiritual practice. We're exploring spirituality. If you're doing meditation, you're enhancing and advancing your spiritual understanding towards fearlessness. If you're chanting in kirtan, if you're feeding the poor and serving people and helping others, performing sadhana of any kind, you're opening and widening your spiritual practice. And Krishna says, no effort is wasted on that path. In this path there is no loss or effort wasted, nor is there fear of contrary results. Even a little practice of this discipline protects one from great fear. You know, Krishna uses the words in verse 40. Then he goes on to also say, you have the right to perform your duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of actions. Do not let the results of your actions be motivated, be the motive, nor be attached to inaction. He says, as we spoke about, fearlessness being the first in 16th chapter. Abandon all forms of dharma and surrender to me. I shall liberate you from all fear. Do not grieve. And finally, Mundaka Upanishad 229, the one who realizes the Supreme Self becomes free from fear and sorrow. Knowing this truth, one transcends the cycle of birth and death. So fear comes from identifying with the body and the mind. True knowledge comes from identifying, attaching oneself to divinity, to God. So where will we hang ourselves? Where will we hang our life? Where will we go? So we've moved quite quickly. We've covered 21 verses of chapter 2 in today, and I hope that there's been something of use there. And you know, I feel that this discussion on fearlessness is perhaps not only Krishna's first thing, but it's the most important thing we can share with others, because there's so much despondency at the moment, like around people that we speak to, and people are frightened and scared for many reasons, many good reasons, but having that spiritual grounding and that place within our own hearts can really give us that strength. So thank you for those who are here